Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 24 of Big League Flicks, a sports movie podcast. I'm Jamie McKinven, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Christian Webster and Jordan Reed. What's shaking, fellas?
What's going on, boys? Another movie in the books, another week ready to go here, another week in lockdown. Excited to get into this one.
All is well here. Great movie. Really excited to do this one. This is one of my all-timers, so we've been off for a couple of weeks, so it's nice to come back with a big one here.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we dive into it, though, sad day in the baseball world as we lost a legend. Hank Aaron passed away, so obviously tough times for a lot of baseball fans out there. I was watching some of the stuff on ESPN today and had some nice tributes. Bob Costas talked, and obviously he had some close moments with him over the years, and Vin Scully had a couple things to say, and he was actually the guy that called that last home run, that classic home run, or not the last one, but the one that he broke Babe Ruth's record. So it's nice that we still have Vin around to kind of give some. That guy's been around calling Dodgers games since the 50s, right? So
he's amazing. Iconic. You know what was something crazy, fellas, about Hank Aaron? First of all, how good of an athlete he was, how durable he was, and he had over 3,000 hits, I believe.
Yeah, like he has the RBI record. He's up over 2,200 RBIs, which is insane.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, that'll never be broken.
No.
Yeah. All right, tonight, as we mentioned, we're jumping into a summer classic with summer nights and bar fights with an all-time baseball classic, taking it back to 1989 with David S. Ward's trailblazing masterpiece, Major League.
Harry Doyle here, welcoming all of you to another season of Indians baseball.
Here's a list of players we'll be inviting to camp.
This guy here is dead.
Cross him off, then.
We'd love for you to come to spring training for a shot at this year's club.
By the way, you were with me last night. Who's this chick on top of me?
We'd still like to take a look at you at our spring camp.
Not sure I can make it by then.
Who is that?
Serrano.
What's his religion?
Voodoo.
Hey! Willie Mays Hayes here. Play like Mays, and I run like Hayes. How you doing? What the hell league you been playing in?
California Penal.
Don't you have any proven major league talent?
Now I want to put together a team that'll help us relocate to Miami.
You want us to lose?
We've been losing. What I want is for us to finish dead last.
This year, the Cleveland Indians have a multi-talented team.
The first offering just a bit outside.
They're masters of the sacrifice.
He's looking to sacrifice a live chicken.
One whole chicken, just like you said.
The double play.
Excuse me.
I have a much better body than she does.
Thank you for me, she really does.
And the pickoff.
Every time we win, we peel a section.
Tom Berenger.
Zipper on your skirt stuck.
Use your imagination.
Charlie Sheen.
These things make me look ridiculous.
Seeing's the most important thing, son. I don't think it's that important.
Corbin Burnson. And Bob Uecker.
Haywood swings and crushes one towards South America.
Major League.
That ball wouldn't have been out of a lot of parks.
Name one.
Yellowstone.
Well, as always, before we start our discussion, we need to take our medicine. Without further delay, let's dive into our Brew review.
Bier her, oder ich bald mir, hey, Bier. Ice cold beer, yeah?
What are we drinking tonight, Webb?
Well, boys, in homage to old Milwaukee, thought this week we'd take it back to old Milwaukee's finest and dive into a pint of Miller Genuine Draft. Miller Genuine Draft has been an iconic brand in the Miller family for over 30 years, first brewed in 1985. At 4.7%, this American-style light lager captures the refreshing flavor and taste of genuine draft beer in a bottle or can, and MGD just reminds people on how great beer is. If you like beer or if you're a beer drinker, MGD is for you. It's the best of draft beer, even when you can't be at a bar to enjoy it. So give them a follow on all their social media accounts, and don't forget to enjoy responsibly. Cheers, boys.
Cheers. Snap the top off mine right now. Hang on.
This may be the first bottle experience on the pod, boys.
Yeah, I just popped the top on mine. That's exactly it.
I think it might be 2 sips. You know the deal.
One more. That is right out of the bottle. And you know what, boys? I drink a lot of beer in a can. Sometimes I miss a cold bottle sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel MGD needs to be out of a bottle.
It's definitely a bottle beer. You got to have that one out of a bottle.
Yeah, you're just hanging on to it. The feel of it. It is one of those things how great beer used to be.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with this rating. This is always a pretty good universal all-around beer. Do good for a lot of things. Fine taste. Not too high in alcohol, so you can kind of good afternoon one again, like we've talked about before. Grab it into a cooler and grab it in an icy bottle. I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to give it an 8.1.
Nice score.
Wow. Nice score. That's a high score. That's a high score.
I like it.
That's a very high score. All right, James, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm also a fan of this beer. It's a nice, clean, clear drinking beer. It brings me back to my days when I worked at the Harbor Restaurant. They actually considered it when I was bartending. They actually considered it a premium beer there. So at the end of every shift, though, after cleaning up, Aaliyah, our owner, he'd let me pick out a beer. He'd say, get us a couple of beers and we'll drink them. I always picked MGD out of the fridge, and it just brings me back to then because you'd be sweaty. You're at the end of a shift, and it would just go down like water. So I'm going to give it a pretty high score too. I'm going to go 7.8.
Wow. Okay. Well, I don't know what to say. I will say that I had this comment.
And here it comes.
You're sandbagging me. You're both sandbagging me. You're setting me up. I will say this. It is definitely one of those beers that is way better in a bottle. And this is my reasoning. Beers that come in a clear bottle or in a green bottle tend to be way better out of the bottle than anything else. Just my general rule of thumb.
I'll give you that.
So, I agree with you. It tastes way better out of the bottle. It's a fine beer. There's nothing that jumps off the page for me. This is a high school first year university beer. This was I'm going to a party and I want to look somewhat respectable and not like a total degen and show that I have a little bit of class and money. And I'm still going to bring beer, so I'm going to bring this instead of a case of like Lucky Lager or something. But it's still like I don't know. It's one of those ones that's not going to sit right with me tomorrow morning probably. So I can't go super, super high on it. It's refreshing. You're right. On a hot day, a couple ice cold one of these, yeah, it's okay. But I mean, what isn't good on ice cold beer in the hot day? Like, come on, we got to set our standards a little bit higher than that, boys. Guess what, Sam Adams? You're gonna love this because this isn't even coming close to your score, Sam Adams. This is well below your score. So I'm gonna go at best for MGD. I can't go any higher than a 6.5. 6.5 for him. It's slightly better than Rolling Rock, but not by a whole lot. 6.5 MGD, 4-time filtered or not, it's just not that. It doesn't sit well enough with me.
Boom! All right.
Well, there you have it.
I'm trying to shake off this beer slut reputation that I seem to have.
You took that to heart.
Yeah, you did.
That to heart.
All right. And choosy.
So as we mentioned, today we're doing Major League, which was written and directed by David S. Ward. Distributed in 1989 by Paramount Pictures. It got a 7.2 rating on Internet Movie Database and a whopping 83% on Rotten Tomatoes. Had a budget of only $11 million, but grossed $49.8 million at the box office. Music by James Newton Howard, starring Tom Berenger, Charlie Sheen, Rene Russo, Corbin Burnson, and Wesley Snipes. Quick movie synopsis. The new owner of the Cleveland Indians, former showgirl Rachel Phelps, has a sweetheart deal to move the team to Miami. But to break the lease with the city of Cleveland, ticket sales have to plummet. So Phelps hires the most incompetent players available, including near-blind pitcher Rick Vaughn and injury-prone catcher Jake Taylor. But her villainous tactics accidentally foster a can-do team spirit, turning the Indians into potential winners. jump into our character review, and let's start out with our boy Jake Taylor, played by Tom Berenger.
Well, what can you not say about a Jake Taylor? First of all, he is the starting catcher of our all-time team, is he not, fellas?
Yeah, if you want to check that out, folks, it's we have a little video about our team. We featured it on episode 16. If you want to check that episode out, we also have a video, that kind of a fun video that shows all of our players and breaks down our team on YouTube on our YouTube channel, and you can find that by searching Big League Flicks. But sorry, JR, go ahead.
No problem. Yeah, please go check that out because it's amazing work. Jake Taylor, one of the ultimate leader, captain. Not actually a great catcher, guys. But what he does is he brings those little intangibles that he really helps to guide a staff along. And there's somebody that you can rally behind. The kind of thing, the leadership and captain. He's a captain. If Cleveland wore a C, this guy's got a C on his jersey. The ultimate captain move is when he had to go get a live chicken and he got the bucket of KFC. He handles business. Everything's worried. No worries. He's good for the team. He's good for morale. He is awesome with Rick. That chemistry he has with Rick Vaughn, I mean, that's obviously from the movies before, but there's awesome chemistry there, and it's kind of believable. The way he talks, the dialogue, he can bring you along. He's one of those guys, he will drag you an extra inning no matter what you're doing. He's got you. Okay, yeah. Those are all the kind of things that I want you to think about when you think of a Jake Taylor. Does he have a cannon? No. His bat? Was he overmatched against the Duke in that last at-bat? Yes. So he knew he had to bunt to do something. He's doing the little things today that new players today will not do. And he knows that's what it's going to take. This guy was a fantastic player. That's why we have him as our starting catcher.
Yeah.
Right? You know, when he threw down to second, when Lou asked about his knees, how's the knees, Jake? Jake's pop was terrible. Okay. But it doesn't matter because he's bringing those little things. He's one of those guys that people want to throw to.
He's an intangibles guy.
He is an ultimate intangibles guy. He knows the game. He's a pro. Takes the guys out to dinner. He's trying to show them the things that need to be done.
He's not an analytics dream.
That is not an analytic guy whatsoever. There's no war to Jake Taylor.
Billy Bean's not signing Jake Taylor.
No, you're not. But what you're going to get is
Billy Bean couldn't even Google Jake Taylor.
Anyway, Webb, I've gone on long enough about that guy, but I can't say enough good things about that character. Him batting 2, okay, maybe I don't know about having him at 2, but he's just doing what he has to do, and he's awesome.
So I agree with all the things you said about him as a ball player and all those things. He's also a degenerate of a human being. All right, and here's why. Okay, the whole going after Lynn thing. She's clearly engaged, clearly has moved on in her life. He's doing this thing where he's like just totally trying to be the sleazeball. He's got the phone move. It was a pretty smooth move. I'll give him that. Pretty smooth move. But when we get introduced to him and he's got the great one-liner about Tolbert playing the prank on him, like it's great. He's got but he's a degenerate human being. And the other thing that drives me insane about him in this movie, he never finishes a goddamn drink. Go back and watch every single scene he's in. He never finishes a goddamn drink.
I was going to say, when he was at the apartment, I would have just
wasteful.
I would have chucked that beer at the apartment.
That's absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah.
That's wasteful. He's a great ball player, though, but he's a terrible human being. I get no respect for him as a human being, but I want him on my team.
I gotta make a note. He's got a little bit better. Another reason why I think we had to pick him on our team. He had a little bit better style than Crash Davis. He didn't have those linen pants on. He was pulling off the white blazer and the jeans pretty well and he's got the curly. He's got the permed Hollywood mullet going. That's pretty sick.
You know what he also is too? He's big league, guys. The way he dresses, the idea of taking them out to dinner, all that kind of stuff. That's big league.
Yeah,
that's major league kind of stuff he's doing. Yeah, it is. The way he talks to where it's Rexy there.
Yeah.
That's big league kind of stuff. And the dialogue he has is amazing. All the dialogues, the conversations, the internal conversations with himself. We'll talk about that later. That's brilliant stuff. Anyway.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
He was an all-star at one point.
That's right.
In Boston. I wish we had him a couple of years ago. We did have him.
We did.
4 years ago. Let's actually jump into Lynn Wells, played by Renee Russo. What do you got on her, JR?
Lynn Wells, again, in this type of movie, in this type of era, obviously a super important character too, because she is, for someone like Jake, she's given Jake purpose as well to try to, like you said, Webb. I know he has some degen-like qualities, but he's trying to make himself a better man by what he's trying to read Moby Dick. What can I say? He's doing what he has to do.
The
comic book doesn't matter. He's reading Moby Dick. You think about what you're dealing with here. Think about what you're dealing with here on that plane. Could you read Moby Dick? I thought she was great. She had brought some, I don't know if it was validity or something to the show where like you needed her on there, a little bit of seriousness to bring into that idea with Jake. I thought she was fun, wonderful. Obviously, she's a beautiful person. She does these types of roles so well, and she was obviously really smart. She was an alternate on the 80 Olympic team.
80 Olympic, 200-meter medley.
Just an all-around human being. So a lot of good things, Webb, that she brought.
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't know. Of all the characters, I think she probably has the most depth. I did a little bit of research. This is Rene Russo's first film movie.
Yep.
So,
really?
Yeah, I actually kind of feel bad for her because she gets kind of typecast in this type of role the rest of her career. Any big movie, like think about it. She plays this like really smart, like book smart or academic smart, but totally dumb when it comes to real life and people and the men especially that she chooses and goes after, right? Like they're all to some extent some kind of degen that she goes after, whether it's Roy or whether it's Thomas Crown. Yeah, like they're all kind of crooks or degens. Like there's something wrong with Rene Russo's. She's got typecast a little bit because of this.
Got a bad agent.
Terrible agent. But yeah, I mean, she's a bright character in this, I guess. I don't know. Again, there's not a whole lot of story there to me. It's lacking. I don't know. I thought it was okay for what it was, but she doesn't do a lot for me.
Yeah. No, I think you guys nailed it. Let's move on to Ricky Vaughn, played by Charlie Sheen.
This is the guy that every kid who was a pitcher in the era that I played baseball, we wanted to walk into the mound to the songs that he walked into, Wild Thing. We all wanted to have a little bit of Wild Thing, and we kind of wanted to be like this guy. He had so much. He was so cool back then. He was actually good at baseball. He threw gas. He had swagger. This guy was awesome. And he's probably one of those all-time, like, baseball characters, Charlie Sheen of all time. The Rick Vaughn character. I think that character goes down forever as one of the most famous baseball characters ever. The idea with the glasses, the geek and the glasses. So I got told advice when I was a young kid. Always fear a couple things in baseball. A geek in glasses always throws really hard.
That's true.
I never thought much about it. Brandon Donnelly, K-Rod, you name it, it keeps going on.
Didn't Hanky wear glasses for a while?
Yeah. Tom Hanky, Kyle Farnsworth, name it. The geek in the glasses throws gas.
Yeah.
And when I was told that about 11 years old or 12. I was like, okay, whatever. And it literally stuck forever. If you wear glasses, most guys throw gas.
They have a lot of pent-up rage.
I think it is.
Last year we threw at the Astros, Joe Kelly. Doesn't he wear glasses?
Joe Kelly wears glasses. So it held up forever. And I kind of learned that from Major League. And then I was told that about 10 years. Like, I just remember being told that. The geek in the glasses throws hard. And what an awesome character.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned, and I don't want to cut your grass here, James. I just something I came across when you're talking about iconic characters. So I guess it was 2016, the Indians went to the World Series. And somebody had approached Charlie Sheen about coming out and throwing out the first pitch, his Wild Thing, and he said he would be more than happy to do it. He'd even shave his head or do the haircut and the whole bit. I guess they had somebody else like already prearranged, but he was all for it. So clearly that cultural relevance is still there. One word that I had to describe him, because he does have some pretty good one-liners, tactful. Because he's got a great, I don't know, I can't remember the scene now, but the line is like basically like, you want me to drag him out of here and kick the shit out of him? Like it was just like
restaurant.
It was
at dinner.
The restaurant. There you go. Oh,
that's right after
it is at dinner.
That's right after he goes, I look like a banker in this. And he's wearing a tie with like a leather jacket.
Yeah. So I mean, he's got some great. He's a solid teammate because he feels bad about banging Mrs. Dorn. And kind of doesn't want to do it. But I mean, at the same time, I was also like, come on, realistically, you're afraid of Dorn? Come on. You're afraid of maybe blowing up the team, but you're not afraid of Dorn.
No, you're not afraid of Dorn. You're going to take him out.
No,
That's all I got, man. Go, James.
No, you guys nailed it. And I've got a few extra things about Charlie Sheen and Ricky Vaughn when we get into some little known facts. But yeah, you guys nailed everything there. Let's move on to Roger Dorn, played by Corbin Burnson.
He's the comedic relief to all this. Oh my gosh, I don't know what to say. Everyone knows somebody they probably played a sport with who's a little bit like a Roger Dorn.
Yeah.
And the lines, the playing, the way he, I'm not doing any unnecessary calisthenics or anything like that. We all know guys like that. And we've all played with guys like that. That's guy, yeah. We've had guys, you get your pitch and you literally guy makes an error. I'm like, you tank that, or you did the old Ole, or he's the king of the flamingo jammer blocking a shot in hockey. That's a flamingo guy right there.
Yeah,
all those types of things. He just is one of those guys on the team that you're like, it's so hard to be on a team with you. That's the only thing I can think of a guy like Roger Dorn. Is he important to the movie? Yeah, he's great. He's hilarious. Corbin Burnson, great job. I love him as an actor, and I love the character. He can hit a little bit. Dorn can work the bat a little bit. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He keyed off an important rally, but overall as a third baseman, I'm good, thanks.
Yeah.
Pretty sure he's the only player who's actually under contract on this team that's not making the league minimum.
Yeah.
I had Roger Dorn, to borrow an expression, a little light in the loafers, so to speak. He's the type of guy on your team that you would all kind of haze because he's just a total douchebag, for lack of a better term, and you want to get after him. There's nothing redeeming about this guy whatsoever. You actively root against him, and you kind of want him to do poorly, and you're kind of stuck with him as a teammate, and it is what it is. But probably one of the best scenes is when Taylor goes in and like gives him shit in the solarium about him tanking the play for Ricky.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. There's not a whole lot I got to add to him.
No, he was. Do you guys remember the show L.A. Law?
Oh yeah.
You remember he played kind of like the sleazy, womanizing lawyer on that one.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he just basically brought that character and just put him in this movie. I think he was to me. I remember back when I was young and I first watched it. I remember watching L.A. Law and then seeing this movie and being like, he just played the same guy. He had the same haircut, same attitude, same mannerisms, everything. So he plays it well. He's a good-looking guy. He's got that
good hair.
He looks like he looks like he's right out of like Stanford or something, 100%. Right? Like he's just one of those like silver spoon. So really good casting. Good. Corbin Burnson's a good actor. He did a great job in it. But yeah, he plays that prick real well. Like he was a perfect cast for that role. Let's move on to Willie Mays Hayes, played by Wesley Snipes.
Who I want playing center field. He's got the tools. Fast, strong, good range. He's got a good glove.
For shit.
Except he runs like Hayes.
You hit like that.
I think Wesley Snipes. He's in that same time frame of window of where he does great sports movies, and he's so believable because he looks and is such a good athlete. Where you're like, this guy's great at these types of roles. I thought he was pretty funny. All the little things, the gloves to steal the bases, just his mannerisms. I got cut already. Oh, I love that. That's one of my favorite lines. The snake, when he has the little garter snake, the little cross. I'm like,
and he kisses it. He's like,
that stuff's so like believable though. Where you're like, that's just like amazing locker room type stuff. Where you just he's wondering what's going on. He was great. Willie Mays Hayes is fantastic. He's another iconic character. When you did the basket catch in practice or in batting practice, you'd be like, yeah, Willie Mays Hayes. Not Willie, like you'd just be like, and then you'd run in and somebody, nice catch, Hayes. Don't ever, do it again. And you're like, that's funny. So overall, great character. And he was awesome.
Yeah.
I had, this is clearly an example of Wesley Snipes hadn't started to utilize resistance training to his full extent yet. He's definitely not getting on the set of Blade with the body that he's rocking in this movie. And he's a bit of a people pleaser, Willie Mays Hayes, to some extent, right? The push-ups. There's a couple times there when he drops down in the batter's box. I thought was pretty funny.
It's hilarious.
Okay, I gotta check this again because it just struck me now. When he shows up to spring training that first time, does he have a Volkswagen Beetle that's been converted into a Rolls Royce?
Yes.
Yeah, I actually
It's like a
researched
luxury
it.
car.
I actually researched it. There was back in the 80s you could buy these.
Sure JR caught this one.
Yeah, back in the 80s you could buy these kits. And basically it was a VW Beetle. Like the engine, like basically the chassis, everything was a Beetle. And then you could buy these parts to basically soup it up, and they were Rolls-Royce like replica parts basically. And it's kind of it's supposed to be kind of a joke because it's somebody that can't afford that type of car, but they're so apparently you could buy these kits to refurbish basically these Beetles, and that's what that was.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
The whole
Here's last thing I'll say on this. I actually think, given what we've seen Wesley Snipes do in sports movies, that they underutilized him in this character quite a bit in this movie. Like there wasn't enough of him for me. Like I feel like there should have been more Willie Mays Hayes, and I actually like the way he's utilized, even though it's Omar Epps in the second one, a lot more. I was gonna
ask you guys that question. Do you guys like Omar Epps as Willie Mays Hayes, or do you like Wesley Snipes as Willie Mays Hayes?
Go ahead, Webb.
You guys know where I stand on this one. We'll get into it later. This is one of those few movies where I actually think the sequel is better than the original. But
so you like Omar Epps?
I think Omar Epps. I think Omar Epps is he can play the like goofy a little bit better than Wesley Snipes can. I think Wesley Snipes to me is just too serious, and I know Omar Epps has been super serious in movies as well, but I think Wesley Snipes is just he's funny. Don't get me wrong, but like he's not Sidney Dean in this one. Like he's just.
I had the opposite. I thought Omar Epps was more serious in the second one. Right, because I feel like he didn't lie.
He was also trying to be more serious in the second one, right? That character is
with his brand kind of thing.
They all are, right? They're all trying to be big time.
Yeah, he's more career driven in the second one.
I'll take Wesley Snipes as my Willie Mays Hayes. I'm an original Major League guy. Nothing against Omar Epps, he's great. Willie Mays Hayes to me is Wesley Snipes.
Yeah,
that's it.
I think they both did a terrific job playing the character. But I'd probably lean towards Wesley Snipes just because I thought he was a little more vulnerable almost or something. Because he wasn't a star. He was still trying to like break out of something to make it. I mean like the character was, not necessarily Wesley Snipes. But even Wesley Snipes wasn't in his career at that point. But I just thought like there was a little bit more comedy spruced into him.
Do you know why he isn't in the second one? Like was it like overlap with another movie or something?
I do have a note on that later, but It's a good question. It's a good question. I'll get to it later.
I figured you would.
Yeah. There's something about one thing we'll get into later is that this cast had a pretty damn good time making this movie together.
There's some units in this. There's some beauties in this
cast. So let's move on to speaking of beauties. Let's move on to Lou Brown, played by James Gammon.
He's a walking soundbite the whole movie.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys, I got to be honest, as a baseball player, I'm not sure if he knows anything about baseball, but he's one of those guys that you really like and you're going to play good baseball for him, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean by that, guys? Like, there's something wholesome about Lou Brown where you're like, you know what? I like this guy. I'm going to do my job and be like a good baseball player and just play for him. And there's something about him that's comforting, and I like him a lot. The way he stands up to Doran, that kind of stuff, that's old school. And like, I mean, obviously it's over the top and comedic, but just a lot of things about him that he just kind of seems like a grandpa out there. When he puts Charlie on, like, hang on, Charlie, I got a guy in the white walls on line 2 or whatever. Like, that's iconic. Those lines.
I picture Jim Leland being a lot like him.
I would Gibby. He reminds me of Gibby, right? Like
Gibby,
he's your everyday man. Like the common man can get on board with this guy, and they'll go to bat for him. He wants to choke out Dorn the same way he wanted to choke out Shea Hillenbrand. Like he's just that kind of guy. Like
good point.
He just strikes me as your everyday guy.
Yeah,
very good point.
I think that's why he's so relatable, is because he's your next door neighbor, right? Or he's the guy that's down at the supermarket or whatever. He's just your common guy.
Webb, you make a good point. There's no ego to him. He's too old to dive in the showers or dive in lockers. You know when he just stands there when Mrs. Phelps comes in there? He just stands. He's like, I'm too old to go run into a locker. You're like, I love this guy.
I like his demeanor too. He's just very even keel, and like you know when Ricky Vaughn comes in and snaps on him because he thought he got cut, and he's like, I like that in a player. The only problem is I didn't cut you. Someone's been having some fun with you. Like that's just that. Nothing really elevates his heart rate.
And you know what? That's old school.
Pun intended. I like it. On that note, though, I guarantee he would have a better snap show than who was the guy? Was it Bull Durham? We were ripping on, or I was ripping on the manager for having the worst snap show ever. Brown would have a way better snap show. Way better snap show.
Yeah, and I like the way Brown handled the situation. This has got to be the hardest managerial job in any movie because they're built to lose, and he figures out a way to get them to win. So I think he does a really good job managing those personalities.
It's his kind of team, Charlie. It's my kind of team, Charlie. It's my kind of team. I love it. I love it.
Let's talk about Pedro Serrano now, played by Dennis Haysbert, Mr. State Farm.
Allstate.
This guy is.
Allstate.
This guy's pure number 4 hitter. Love him. Love everything he brings. I like how he's big. He's strong. I love the character. I love Joe Boo.
How about him curling 35 in the room on the straight bar?
Just straight up. No big deal. Ain't a jock. Just walking around curling thing. Not a big deal. You're like, this guy he's like another iconic character. It's the same thing. The whole Joe Boo thing. Fellas, how many times have you said, F you, Joe Boo, I do it myself? I literally have said that in a batter's box many times. I don't know. Or up your butt, Joe Boo, bad to steal Joe Boo's rum. I think the Joe Boo piece comes with Serrano, the whole shtick of Serrano. I think that's pretty fun. And I think he's a really cool, quirky character that is amazing for like a locker room and a team.
Yeah, he's great.
Pretty sure every time I've gone to Cuba, anytime they put a rum taking a rum away from me, I'm like, bad to steal Joe Boo's rum. Every time.
Very bad to steal Joe Boo rum.
And I always get a laugh from the bartender, so that's a good thing.
Hilarious.
Pedro Serrano is probably one of my favorite characters in both of the movies. Well, I haven't seen the third one. I'm waiting until we have to do that.
I have seen it. He's not in it. The only person that's in the third one that even carries over from any of the other movies is Rube Baker.
Oh, I thought when I was watching the trailer today, it looked like he was in it. Looked like Serrano was in it.
I don't think so.
Well, that's good news.
I don't think
I haven't watched it in a long time, though.
What was I going to add about? He does a great job. It's funny. I think when you compare this role, what's his name, Dennis Haysbert? Yeah. When you compare this role to him in Mr. Baseball, right? He's like a first baseman or something in Mr. Baseball too, right? Or he's the guy on the American guy in the other team.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you just see the difference in terms of like character wise and how well he's able to adapt. And this guy, I mean, he's gone on to have a pretty good career, right? He was the president, and he's a big TV guy. Like I did a little deep dive after I looked him up. Big TV guy, but like president. He was President Palmer on 24. I remember that. Yeah, but yeah. And then he's got, like you said, all those Allstate commercials. I don't know. I don't have Serrano's great. I got nothing to add. He's funny as hell.
Webb was the huge 24 guy.
Oh yeah, I love that show too.
Yeah, it was.
Let's jump into. Are there any other notable characters that jump out at you? Anybody?
Yeah, I got to throw it out there, and I've mentioned this before in our pod. Old Ed Harris, the doctoring up the ball guy I grew up with, Jeff McDonald. He literally wanted to be old his whole life. We always called him Ed Harris. Ed Harris is a wicked character too. Just that's Vagisil, Crisco. Sometimes I put a little jalapeno up under my nose.
You put snot on the ball?
I ain't got an arm like yours, kid. And then, like just some of his lines. Jesus Christ, can't hit a curveball. Like things like that. I mean, he brings that wily old veteran near the end of his time. Yeah, up your butt.
Jesus, I like him very much. He no help with curveball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my guy for sure.
I definitely one main guy I forgot to mention was Harry Doyle, played by Bob Uecker. He was.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's my guy, and like in terms of the sound bites, he's probably the best.
Yeah.
Right. Just the little like Jack Daniels behind the ears, like and everything, like just hilarious. Like, listen to this diehard crowd out here for the Indians. It's like crickets, like just like deadpan comedy. They're just a bit outside. Like, oh my god. No worries. Anything to add, Monty? No, that's why he's the best color guy in the biz. Like, just he's got the best one-liners in the league.
Or he's like, ball 12. I can't believe they're laying off these pitches.
Unbelievable.
Oh yeah.
What about Rachel Phelps, the owner?
Oh, she did as a character, she did a good job of just. I couldn't stand her when I first watched this movie as a kid.
Yeah,
she's everything that's wrong with sport.
She's easy to hate.
She's so easy to hate, and whoever played her did a great job of that. Where you're just like, I don't like you. And poor old Charlie's just her whipping boy. Yeah. He's the ultimate, has to be the ultimate yes man. But yeah, Rachel Phelps, she drove me nuts. She did an excellent job of being easy to hate.
They used to have a lot of these types of women, these like women portrayed in the 80s, and these rich, stuffy women, and I think she just fits that role with a lot of the way. Like I think in the movie Fletch, there's a couple of them, and the one with Michael J. Fox, The Secret of My Success. It was like his aunt or whatever in it.
Great movie.
But yeah. I want to mention Clue Haywood as well. He was a great character, played a really good kind of like, not villain, but, I guess villain.
He was the villain.
The villain.
Was he an honorable mention on our team too?
He was.
Honorable mention on our side.
It really came down to him and Jack Elliott and Luke Collins were our 3 finalists, I think, to play first. And it ended up being Jack Elliott because we wanted to have a left-handed bat, and we didn't have many lefties in the lineup. But yeah, he was the Triple Crown winner in the movie, as they mentioned. He was hitting like 340, 150 RBIs, and like 47 home runs or something. So he's a stud.
One of the best shit-talking lines in this movie, too.
How's your wife?
My kids.
Yeah.
I love one of these. You won't
Taylor.
be needing that anymore.
I thought you were down the Mexican leagues. What are you doing up here? Or what do you say? Taylor, what are you doing back up here? I couldn't cut it the Mexican league. Taylor had some really good comebacks in those things too.
Taylor's the ultimate pro. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's a pro. That's why he's our starting catcher.
Nothing phases him. I'll give you that.
Nothing phases him. He's a captain. It's amazing.
I wanted to shout out Charlie Donovan too. He was good. He was a good GM. Good funny character.
He was awesome. Poor guy. He's the kind of character you feel so sorry for in real life on those teams when they're just pawns to the owner and they have no say whatsoever and they're just rolled out.
He's the guy that's the GM but not actually making any decisions. He's the Raptors. He's Bobby Webster.
Yeah,
he is Bobby Webster.
Bobby Webster.
Who's really pulling the strings there?
And so let's jump into some quotes. There's literally you could probably do an entire podcast episode on quotes for this movie. Gotcha. What are some of the special ones that stand out for you?
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go ahead.
I've used most of mine.
Okay, I have a couple right away. Just the people in Cleveland, the workers, the groundskeepers. These guys aren't so bad. These guys are shitty. That's still shitty. But just the general townspeople. I love
Before you go on, Jared, can I make a note of that?
Yeah, go ahead. Of course.
Sequel. Randy Quaid. Yeah, way better. Go. Continue.
All right. Another one that's iconic for Pedro Serrano is Hats for Bats.
Yeah.
Oh, I use them. Hats for Bats.
Oh, amigo.
And then
if you tried to take my Miami Dolphins one, I would just
you'd be swinging on them.
You know what? Do you see this bat right here? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take your Miami Dolphin. I'm going to stretch it. I'm going to cut it upside. I'm going to stretch your stupid Miami Dolphin head cover. Then I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it for BP.
It's time you get yourself a Bills one anyways. They're back and they're relevant again. Let the Dolphins die and go get yourself a Bills one.
Get rid of that stupid Dolphin head cover. I can't stand it.
Put that on his clubs.
Well, last one I'll throw out here, and then I'll fire it over to you guys is, this guy is dead. We'll cross him off then.
Yeah, I love that quote.
I mean, there's so many I can go on. You guys got whatever.
I'm gonna say I got one I haven't used yet, Haywood leads the league in most offensive categories, including nose hair. When this guy sneezes, he looks like a party favor. Like, one of my favorites.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. Well, I think we've mentioned a lot of them. One I'll just mention. It just popped into my head again. Was when Dorn pulls up in his car, and the guy's like, "I thought you said we didn't have any high priced talent." Well, I forgot about Dorn because he's only high priced.
He has like the golf clubs and the sweater, and like, the douchey guy coming out.
Oh, absolutely.
That's amazing. I mean, you could follow Lou Brown around the whole movie if you want quotes too, folks. And just follow Lou Brown. Just watch him.
He's got some classic ones.
The White Walls is probably one of my favorites.
Oh
yeah, absolutely.
So funny.
Well, let's jump into some little known facts. So, at 29 years old, Major League director and writer David S. Ward won an Oscar for writing the Robert Redford and Paul Newman classic, The Sting. I didn't realize that. So he actually won an Oscar for that. That's pretty wicked.
At 29, wow.
So I think that
motivated after that.
That goes to show you why we have such high quality writing and directing on a blockbuster movie that we have here.
That's right, Webb.
Here we go.
Here's why it's one of the best ever, Webb.
So David S. Ward is actually a lifelong Cleveland Indians fan. His inspiration for creating the movie was simply because he thought it would be the only way he would ever see the Indians actually win anything. So that was his goal, is he was going to write a movie where the Indians win. That's pretty funny.
They were so bad for a long time when we were little kids, though. Remember like the Corey Schneider, Joe Carter days? They were so bad.
They were bad. So Charlie Sheen was actually a really good high school pitcher who was offered a baseball scholarship to the University of Kansas. So I remember hearing that about Sheen. He was kind of a stud. He had a really good delivery. I thought like his mechanics looked really good.
Yep, 100%. He's legit. He's talked about it, and he loves baseball. And he's not kidding. He is really good.
Yeah.
He throws pretty hard. I think he throws in like mid to high 80s.
I was gonna say, I thought I saw something in the research saying he got up to like 85 or 86 miles an hour on his fastball in this movie,
which is pretty amazing for a guy coming off the couch and actor.
Yeah.
Yep. That's pretty hard.
So the opponent, we were talking about him earlier, Clu Haywood with the Yankees, was played by former MLB pitcher Pete Vukovich. Vukovich played 11 seasons in the majors with the White Sox, Blue Jays, Cardinals, and Brewers. He won the 1982 AL Cy Young Award with the Brewers after going 18-6. Pretty slick,
pretty good. Yeah, not bad at all.
Yeah. So as you kind of mentioned this, Webb, but in order to make Charlie Sheen's 85-mile-an-hour fastball look like it was traveling 100, they moved the mound up 10 feet and shot from behind home plate so the viewer wouldn't notice the difference in distance. Because those scenes where they show it like live speed, it's humming coming in there. Like it's got some velocity for sure.
An 85-mile-an-hour pitch from 50 feet 6 inches? That's really hard.
Yeah, that'd be super hard.
You have a hard time catching up to that one.
Oh yeah.
So Ward wanted to shoot the film in Cleveland, but couldn't because Cleveland was a union town and it was going to cost a bundle more. So it was decided to shoot in Milwaukee, since it would be $1 million cheaper. The home game scenes were filmed at Milwaukee's County Stadium. The exterior shots were used with Cleveland's Municipal Stadium. In the season opening game, a sign in the outfield wall displaying the Milwaukee Brewers logo can be clearly seen. Bernie Brewer's house and beer mug were dismantled for the shooting of the movie, so as not to give away the identity of the interior shots of the stadium.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I did pick up on that Brewers sign.
Yeah.
I thought I came across something too, Jamie. Maybe you saw this too. Something about like they couldn't figure it out with the schedule for the Browns and the Indians too to actually do it in Cleveland.
Oh, I didn't see that. No.
Yeah, I don't know. It might not have been. I mean, I don't know how credible the resource was, but
Cleveland's old baseball stadium was so bad too. Municipal Stadium was awful. Remember they used to call it Mistake by the Lake. It was brutal.
Yeah, Mistake by the Lake. Yeah.
I also read something about Charlie Sheen. Back to that. Sorry. That's something like some interview he gave. He said he juiced up for this.
Yep, he did. Yeah. So former Major League catcher Steve Yeager served as the technical consultant for the baseball scenes and also served as stunt double for Tom Berenger in all the catching scenes. So anytime you see Jake Taylor with a mask on making plays, that's actually Steve Yeager. And Yeager also played the third base coach and bench coach, what's his name in there? Duke Temple. So he played that character. He's in it quite a bit, like throughout the scenes.
Nice.
You can see him quite a bit. He's hitting those fungos, those rocket fungos down the line at
bullets.
Roger Dorn.
Bullets.
Those are bullets, yeah.
Oh yeah, those are big time MLB like hard hit balls at him.
Yeah. So Yeager played 15 years for the Dodgers, winning the World Series in 1981. He was named World Series MVP that year after hitting 2 clutch home runs in the series against the Yankees. Pretty legit guy. I remember him.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Many of the players in the movie were inspired by former Major League stars. So Pedro Serrano, according to the author and director David S. Ward, is partially based on Orlando Cepeda, the Alou brothers, and Wade Boggs, who superstitiously ate chicken before every game. Fried chicken, I guess. I think it was.
He did. The Alou brothers. Yeah, Felipe.
Yeah. Willie Mays Hayes, according to Ward, is based on Ricky Henderson. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Duran was the inspiration for Ricky Vaughn. Brian Duran was known to he was one of the guys like back in the day that could really notch it up there. He had a 100-mile-per-hour fastball and eyeglasses thick as Coke bottles. So Eddie Harris appears to be inspired by Gaylord Perry, who was really well known for doctoring up the ball.
100%.
And Jake Taylor may have been inspired by Carlton Fisk, a catcher who had a long career with the Boston Red Sox and White Sox. Had some, tough years down the road with some knee injuries and stuff like that. And Lou Brown also mentions that Taylor was an all-star in Boston, which might have been a little nod there towards Carlton Fisk. Clu Haywood was based on former Yankees catcher Thurman Munson. You could tell that, kind of like the mustache and stuff.
Thurman Munson was pretty awesome.
Oh, he was the man. He was the captain.
Yeah, he was the Yankee captain. That guy was legit.
He died in a plane crash, I think, while he was still playing, like his last year.
Yeah,
pretty sad. So when Willie says he runs like Hayes, he's actually referring to Bullet Bob Hayes. Hayes won the gold medal in the 100-meter dash in the 1964 Tokyo Olympics with a then world record time of 10.06 and was considered the world's fastest human. He then went into the Hall of Fame. He then went on to a Hall of Fame NFL career with the Dallas Cowboys from 65 to 1974 and is still thought to be the fastest man ever to play pro football. I didn't actually know that. Like when they mentioned it, when he said that line basically all the way up till we did the research on this, I always thought he said like he runs like Hayes as in I run like heck instead. Sometimes you say instead of heck you say Hayes. I always thought he said like he runs like Hayes, like in that sense. I didn't actually realize he meant like an actual person named Hayes.
I didn't either.
Pretty cool. After this movie came out, Mitch Williams changed his number to 99 and came out of the bullpen to Wild Thing. This was the introduction of closers coming out to signature songs. Major League, this movie started that trend. So that's pretty iconic. And I was thinking back to it as well. Before that time, closers didn't have nicknames. They didn't come out to signature songs. There wasn't that whole kind of like almost World Wrestling Federation thing about closers, right? Like the
Undertaker type stuff.
The culture of the closer. So that all spawned from the character, and you mentioned it earlier, but like everybody wanted to be Ricky Vaughn. That all spawned from that. Like Ricky Vaughn basically, this movie changed some culture of baseball, especially around that position.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty interesting.
100%.
So I came across a Sports Illustrated article from 2011. It's called A League of Its Own, written by Chris Nashawati. Chris Nashawati's actually written a lot of these cool articles for Sports Illustrated over the years, interviewing a lot of the actors from the movies. So we've referenced Chris Nashawati's articles on probably about 4 or 5 of our movies now. But he's got a really cool article written about this. And he was interviewing several of the actors. So David S. Ward on casting for the film. One of the things I did with all the actors before I cast them was play catch with them to see who could play. I had actors coming in and saying that they played AAA with the Cardinals. I'd take them outside and they couldn't throw 15 feet. They just lied.
Know about the playing catch and guys can't throw like, a lick or whatever. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't consider myself a baseball player by any stretch of the imagination, but I can throw a ball half decent.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. Like, come on.
I think the problem is some of these, like, you're an athlete. Some of these guys I don't think played sports. That's part of it, right?
Fair enough. Yeah.
And,
well, you're doing jump shots. They're doing improv. So
yeah.
Let's call it as. I'm sorry.
Quick, somebody throw me a ball.
Chelsea Ross, who played Eddie Harris, he had this to say about being cast in the role. So I was 45 at the time, and it had been 20 years since I'd thrown a ball. But I had pitched a little bit in Southwest Texas State University, and I thought, I can do this. After I auditioned, Chris Chesser said, let's throw a little bit. I knew that this would happen somewhere along the line. He asked, while we were throwing, he asked me if I could throw anything besides a fastball. I said, sure, I could put a wrinkle in one. So I threw him a couple of big lollipop curves, and they were pretty lame, but they seemed to like it, and I was cast. His delivery was pretty funny.
He threw like an old man.
Yeah, he had an old man delivery.
His body was tight. He threw like his body was tight. You know what, though? I will say this, for whoever threw the curveball, when he said, they said, Eddie's throwing curveballs in, those were benders.
They were good benders.
They were dropping out. Whoever threw those, I don't know who it was, but that was a deuce. I was like, whoa.
Was those,
Oh, yeah. I don't think it was Eddie with like his body. It was like Eddie mixing a yoga band or two. Holy cow.
It was Shoopy.
Yeah.
Little Shoopy.
So, according to David S. Ward, Wesley Snipes was not a very skilled baseball player in real life, never having played much before. Ward said Snipes was so awful at throwing a baseball that they couldn't have any scenes with him throwing a ball, so they just had some defensive plays and some batting. He also said that Snipes wasn't actually fast at all in real life, which is why they did all his running scenes in slow motion to give the illusion that he was fast. It's funny about that because if you remember when we did White Men Can't Jump, remember Ron Shelton was saying that Snipes wasn't a very good athlete, and he said he wasn't that great at basketball. It was hard they had to do a lot of work with him to get him to the level that Woody Harrelson was, because he said Woody Harrelson could shoot it around pretty well. It's funny though, because when you look at Snipes, he just looks like a specimen, right? He just looks like he's perfect specimen to do that.
Totally. Good.
Bob Uecker, who played obviously Harry Doyle, they told me to do whatever I wanted. Yeah, he said I didn't have a script. They just said, here's the scenario. The Indians are getting their asses kicked every day. Have fun with it. So I did it. I love it. You remember how much fun it would have been? Like that other guy, that Marty guy, like he would have been in speeches.
His job was he's somebody's nephew or something. He didn't have to do anything. He just sat there.
Yeah.
And he's still making residual checks off that movie.
Yeah. And got paid.
You have anything to add, Marty? No.
Nope. No one's listening anyway. When he said that, you can't say that on the air. No one's listening anyway.
No one's listening. Just knowing that everything was ad-libbed and he just made it up as he went makes it even better. Like that's just
amazing.
In the scene where Serrano hits that home run, Dennis Haysbert actually went yard. Everybody stopped and went nuts when it happened. They had to cut it and they had to cut it after he hit it and then shoot the back end of it again because everybody stopped doing what they're supposed to. That's pretty cool.
That's
you just went yard at a major league stadium and you're not a baseball player.
That's pretty cool.
Hey Webb, this is a cool one for you. A lot of people didn't know this, but Jeremy Piven was in the movie. He was a bench jockey, and he had a ton of. Originally in the script, he had a lot of bits in the movie where he's just yelling insults constantly at the opposing teams, but it didn't really work, and we ended up cutting out all his parts.
Oh, that would have been good.
Yeah, Jeremy Piven just chirping the other team would have been hilarious.
It would have been really funny.
Yeah,
that'd be pretty funny.
It must have sucked for him, although he did get to hang out with all those guys. That would have been fun.
That would be a good few months.
So we talked about former Brewers pitcher Pete Vukovich, who played Clu Haywood. So he had a bar in Milwaukee called Stormin' and Vukes, and apparently all the cast used to love to go there after shooting every day. That'd be fun.
100%.
Yeah.
So Dennis Haysbert talking about the cast. I don't think there was ever a closer cast than anything I've ever worked on. We hung out together all the time. We went to bars together every day. We were a team. James Gammon was the leader on and off the set.
Lou Brown, baby.
Yes. Charlie Sheen on James Gammon. He says, James Gammon, you want to talk about an absolute warlock? This guy shows up one morning. He's so hungover that the bar's still stuck to his head. I've never seen a man in this much pain trying to make a cup of coffee. He was an awesome dude.
And that's why you play hard for him right there, folks.
This much pain trying to make a coffee.
And you know what? And you know how he probably took his coffee? Black.
Yeah. Damn right. Damn right.
David Ward on Charlie Sheen. So Charlie had all these women flying in and out of Milwaukee. His biggest problem was trying to coordinate the airline schedule so that these women didn't run into each other. That's classic. Charlie Sheen said, Major League was so physically demanding that a lot of nights you were lying in bed and everything hurts and you're thinking, oh man, I got a pitch tomorrow. But there were certain days that we'd look at the schedule for the next day and be like, gentlemen, tonight we ride.
That's wicked.
So we talked about earlier about Wesley Snipes, why he didn't do Major League 2, Webb. Yeah. We don't necessarily get a reason why here, but Corbin Burnson was talking about Wesley Snipes, and this is kind of a veiled shot, I think. So a couple of years after Major League, I saw Wesley, and I said, hey, man, they're going to make Major League 2. And he laughed and said, you're actually going to do that? And I thought, wow, how quickly they forget. And he goes, that always rubbed me the wrong way. So he wasn't, I kind of got the feeling that reading some stuff that guys weren't too big of fans of Wesley. Maybe he didn't hang out with the boys.
Maybe he didn't do enough to you.
He wasn't invited. Yeah, I was going to say maybe he wasn't
that,
invited back.
He's the only guy, too, that doesn't, that isn't in part of these interviews in this National Audio article as well. So I think he kind of was like, meh.
Yeah, that's hard. I don't know. I don't know how you don't like just join in with the guys and hang out.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, how do you not figure? And then the money you've made from it, you don't mind taking the checks from it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know. That one's hard. Maybe there's more to it that we don't know of, but you know, if he's not in the interview, he's not in 2. Corbin Burnson said, yeah. I mean, if Charlie Sheen's still doing stuff, but you're not, like, that's to me a sign too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he hasn't been getting any roles.
No.
And maybe he's turning them down. I don't know. But So here's David Ward on Major League 2. So I didn't write Major League 2, but I did decide to direct it at the last minute because I couldn't see someone else taking my characters. But it's not nearly as good as the first one. It tried too hard to be funny. Ooh. I agree.
Story. It's a better story. It might not be as funny, but it's a better story.
I can't even remember the story.
It's all about how they all get big time and then they come back, and there's more of a I'll say arc to it.
Okay.
For me,
they have to get back to their roots in Major League 2.
And I'll touch on this when we talk about like our rankings and thoughts.
Yeah.
And more, but
okay.
I won't get into it right now.
Yeah. Just one more thing. Major League was the runaway favorite baseball movie of Major League players polled during the 2010 season. There you go.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
The favorite of the pros.
100%.
Let's jump into our realism review. You want to kick us off, JR?
Sure. I made a couple notes. So realism, I had a few things. I had, first of all, I'll go into the non-realism review. So first things first, for like the non-real, I had like the barracks at spring training. I know that's back in the day in the early 90s, but I spent a lot of time in Florida spring trainings, or this would be the Arizona one, but they're not sleeping on little tiny bunk beds like that.
I had that down too.
Jake's pop is bad from catching. It's pretty not believable. I'm sorry. Like, I love him. Don't get me wrong. I love the guy. But his pop, like when he's second, like when he's popping up, that is pretty brutal. Yeah. Another thing I had is when Rick Vaughn's throwing a bullpen, it's pretty not believable. I'm sorry. Like when he's down throwing a pen, like I know the caps and sleeves at this level are a funny thing, but like, come on. The individual standing, like that metal person, Yeah, that thing leans down like, are you kidding me at this point?
He knocks the head off. He's like,
yeah, like really? Using Harris and other pitchers to throw BP, unless it's like a simulated game, I don't think that's happening either, folks. That, okay, Eddie, do whatever. Like, no, they're not bringing out who's basically their ace.
Yeah.
Who at least appears to be their ace. He's not throwing BP.
Yeah, he's definitely their ace, for sure.
He's throwing down in the pen. The blocking the ball technique of Jake Taylor is not very good. Again, not good at all. Another thing I had for spring training, not realistic, was running over a catcher in spring training. You don't see a lot of that. I'm sorry, you don't see guys getting loaded on. Yeah, I mean, first string guys, though, they usually don't see that. Like, you're kind of sliding, coming in a little bit. I mean, old school, I don't mind a catcher's getting ran. Don't get me wrong. I've been ran over before, but you just don't see it a lot.
What about random guys coming off the street like Willie Mays Hayes just walking in? That happens?
You don't see that happening a whole lot as well, unless you're that fast. Okay, the only thing to me that can get you noticed, and other people can disagree with me, there was a fellow in Kingston one time who got noticed by San Diego. Basically, if you're that fast, you will get noticed.
The way I look at him is, in a lot of these guys, they didn't give you a lot of background on them, like the younger guys. They did with Vaughn because they said he pitched in Portland. That's AAA. Yeah. So,
yeah,
he pitched at a high level the year before. They don't say anything about Hayes, but I'm assuming he probably played independent ball somewhere.
There had to be something on him.
I figured because he's got major league talent, or at that level.
So major league speed. He's got major league speed.
Yeah, but he was basically making Gold Glove plays in the outfield. That you got to be a good player to be able to, even if you can't hit that well.
That is true.
Hit well enough to put him in the leadoff spot, or else they would have had him at 9. You know what I mean? They'll put a fast guy on the 9 spot, but he must have been able to get on base well enough to do that. So I figured, even though they don't give his background, I figured he must have played probably independent ball, which is good ball, and just he wasn't on anyone's radar. But at that time, I mean, the entire team wasn't on anyone's radar because the guys are like, I've never heard of half of these guys.
We'll cross them off then. Yeah. Another thing I had this is my last one for not real. I'll wrap this up soon. I'll get into real. Is Harris walking with his back to BP without a screen? Your ace is not walking out randomly onto the field with BP, like things like that.
Needs a refill.
Quickly, I'll get onto the real. Some stuff that was real though was spring training. The fields, the field of spring training, the atmosphere. They did a really good job, I thought, of creating that spring training like atmosphere. The coaches sitting not in the dugout, along the wall, just along the side. That happens. Coaches always sit outside the dugout in spring training. Yeah. They're always out there. They did a really good job of that. Some of the gear, the clubhouse, the team banter, the cheap owner. All the misfits that come together. I thought they did a really nice job of that. The different types of pranks that you hear and see that go on. Those are all really cool things that happen. Vaughn hanging out in the bullpen and kind of wondering and waiting what's going on, like, hurry up. Jake Taylor's banter catching, like, don't screw this up, don't screw this up, don't screw this up. Shit, you screwed this up. Like, that happens all the time. And you have that idea. Taylor's banter too is when you're catching a man on third and you're like, here comes a curveball, block it, block it, block it, block it. Like, you have all these things that go through your head. They did a really good job of that. There was fair amount of realism. I thought, last thing I'll point out, because I'm going along, is I thought the fans did a really good job. Whoever, like, the extras as the fans in the stands, they did a really good job of making it pretty believable too. The craziness, like Cleveland Indian fans are pretty rabid.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like
Cleveland
Jacobs Field rocks. It does. Cleveland sports in general, and like the J where they play now. Well, I don't know what's called anymore, but Jacob Field does rock, and I have to give them that. Anyway, I went a little long. I'm sorry about that. Progressive Field, yeah.
Oh, I mean, in terms of the realism piece, I think you hit everything I had. A couple things I had in terms of non-realistic, and we talked a little bit about this pre-recording here. The one we talked about with the Ringer article talking about the ending and how basically maybe we can link it or send the article out or something, Jane, but the idea that the ending really never should have happened and it's not believable, and that the order is all messed up. And for long story short, that the Yankees in a playoff game aren't going to call that is a little bit beyond me. So I'll give him that. But the big thing that stuck out for me, and we talked about this, was the idea that Cleveland's even hosting this game to begin with. Given the fact that we're led to presume or assume that, even though they have a tied record and they're playing for the 1-game playoff here, that we would assume that the Yankees shit kicked them all year, and that so that they're in a 1-gamer, and the head-to-head, the Yankees would probably have the advantage, so they should have been hosting. So that was my only non-realistic thing.
The other thing I was just thinking about it. Maybe they just called it a playoff in the sense that whoever won that game was going to win it. Maybe it was just the last game of the season. They happened to be playing each other.
Okay, maybe. I don't
know. I'm assuming it was a wild card. I'm assuming.
I got the sense it was a play-in game, right? Like the season had finished and they finished tied for first.
That's
you might be right. Yeah, you might be right. I might be wrong. So that's my only big thing. I mean, I thought some of the baseball scenes were well done, but some were pretty hokey, the ones with the 3 fielders, like the shortstop, the second baseman, and the fielder all coming in at once.
See that though. You used to see that on the bloopers video.
Especially it's a little Mickey Mouse for big leagues. Maybe
MLB would never be that bad.
Yeah,
well, they did. They used to have it on. Remember the sports bloopers videos we used to get on VHS?
3 guys, and it's all choreographed how they fall and everything. It's not that. That was a little over the top for me, but other than that, they did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I don't have much to really add. The whole thing about the team tanking to move stadiums actually happened in the 70s with the Twins. I saw some research on that. It's pretty interesting. But no, I think you guys nailed everything for me. Let's talk about the soundtrack. So the music was composed by James Newton Howard. Howard has scored over 100 films, recipient of a Grammy Award, an Emmy Award, and 8 Academy Award nominations. What do you guys think about the soundtrack for the movie?
You want me to go on this one, Jer?
Sure, yeah, let her go.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's fitting for the movie. I thought they did a pretty good job at scoring it in terms of lining songs up. The song choices that they made, anyways, for particular scenes in the movie, there's nothing that jumps out in terms of really popular hits or popular songs that you're gonna know off the top of your head, other than maybe Wild Thing. But really, I loved the Randy Newman "Burn On" track to start the movie, where he's basically singing about Cleveland. Just the mood it encapsulates with his voice and the tone and the melody of the song. It's perfect for that kind of feeling of this team is down in the dumps, and they have been for a long time. That was really, really well done. And then the Lyle Lovett song "Crying Shame," I thought that was fitting for that scene as well. Yeah. So I thought it was pretty good, but like I said, nothing jumps off the page. There's nothing that I'm sitting there putting on any kind of playlist. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Wild Thing, maybe, just to get a quick little 10-second chuckle and then move on.
I actually do have "Burn On" a playlist because I love that song. It's because it reminds me of the start of the movie.
Yeah, it's true.
And I love Randy Newman. I love the song, the "I Love LA" song.
Yeah.
So one of the cool things was I've always loved that song, and I forgot about it. But this year I was watching the Dodgers when they won the World Series, and right when they came onto the field, they played that song, and you could hear it when Kershaw or somebody was getting interviewed in the back. It was the "I love LA," and I was like, "Yeah, Randy Newman."
That's great.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So let's jump into our movie wrap up. Where does this movie rank among all-time baseball movies, and where does it rank among all-time sports movies?
Do you want me to go first, Webb, on this one?
You have this one.
All right. Okay, baseball movies. I have this baseball movie as number 2 baseball movie all time. I can't put it as a 1 because of exactly around the time I grew up, but I'm going to put this as a 2. This movie stuck with me the whole time in my life that I played baseball. It changed the way I talked during baseball games, the way I acted during baseball games, the one-liners I used in baseball games, the amount of things that I noticed from there. There's no Hell's Bells Trevor Hoffman without the Wild Thing.
Yeah.
The impact this movie had on people, I can't even go on. Anyway, so I'm going to go number 2 all time. I'm going to have the probably top 12 for all time sports movies. It just sits with me forever. Oh, absolutely. As a guy who loves baseball, played baseball, first time I ever watched this movie was in about 1992. And a buddy of mine at his grandparents' house. We were able to get our hands on the movie to rent it. And unbelievable. And he told me at the very start, he goes, "You're going to notice the catcher and this pitcher are really tight." And it was Tom Berenger and Rick Vaughn because he had already seen it. So it stuck with me, and I will stick with me forever. That's me.
You want me to go?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead. Give some contrast.
Well, I mentioned this earlier. I actually prefer the sequel way better to this movie. Here's my primary reason. There's nobody in this movie that, as a viewer, okay. Let me start by saying the one-liners in this movie, they're amazing, and it's a walking, talking soundbite. We talked about this, like the fact that we could basically just have a conversation using nothing but the lines of this movie, make it a great movie in that respect, right?
Yep.
And everything JR said about like its cultural impact, not only on baseball but on like just general pop culture, 100% spot on. What I don't like about the movie is that there's no character to like really get behind and follow in terms of like a story. If you're thinking like of an actual narrative and trying to follow a movie that way, so there's that piece. I thought the characters themselves, there's just not enough development in any of them to really kind of make it to prolonged. Whereas in the second one, you kind of see them go through something, right? You get to feel for them a little bit more. So I think that's my bigger reason why I like it. I just thought that this was too disjointed at a lot of times, and it's held together by its comedy. And I just thought, in a large respect, it's just a lot of lazy writing. It's another one of those movies for me that it's not holding up now as an adult compared to when I watched it originally as, you know, a young teenager or even into young adulthood. Like, the comedy is still great and it's funny as all hell, but it's just the movie itself isn't as great for me. So I'll say in terms of baseball movies, it's in my top 10 for sure. Because I mean, there's a lot of baseball movies that are garbage, but I'd say it's in my top 10 all time. Probably makes my top 50. Yeah,
right on.
In there, around there. I don't know if I'll watch it again for a long time.
I watch it every day. I love it.
What is wrong with you, Webb? I'm sorry.
I'm just saying. I'm getting a little bit more sophisticated in my old age.
We need to get you. We need to get you back in the classroom. This remote learning's making you real grumpy.
He's back in.
Making you grumpier than normal, which is pretty grumpy already.
Oh, yeah. What is wrong with you? Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you guys. I think JR, you and I are pretty much in tune on this one. To me, it connects every diehard fan that's ever been a diehard fan of a losing franchise, and I can relate because of the Buffalo Bills for years. It connects with the snake bit fan base. No, I love the movie. I love the blue collar vibe. Starting out with Randy Newman's "Burn On," you know, you see all the scenery at the start of it, and the whole movie has like the team is built on a blue collar vibe. You don't have really much of a star. They're all like close knit, drinking together, obviously on and off the scenes. And I'm glad that they didn't end the movie by winning the World Series. I'm glad it was like they won a division title, but that's it, right? They don't overdo it, because that's
part of the realism piece too. Yeah. When you think about it, like there's no way this ragtag team of misfits. It's the Oakland A's story. Let's call it what it is.
That is, yeah. It's a great way to put it, for sure. So overall, baseball, I've got it number 2. You guys know what my number 1 is. You guys did me a favor and let us do Bull Durham as our first episode. That's my number 1. Overall, I've got it number 8 all time. I really enjoy this movie.
What makes this 2 compared to Bull Durham, James?
Good question. The thing that makes it 2 is, and I think you'll agree with this, Webb, Bull Durham has got a lot more depth. It doesn't need to have baseball scenes to carry it. It's got a really good story arc. There's Kevin Costner aside, like obviously he's a stud. but there were just so many off the field scenes that were classic and iconic that you want to watch again. And and I just the minor leagues to me are very nostalgic. I love going to minor league games.
That's what I was going to ask you about the minor leagues. There's something romantic to the minor leagues.
It's a very romantic thing.
To that point, that's where I'm saying, like, there's something about you're able to follow Crash Davis, right? You're invested in Crash Davis and his story. There's nobody in this movie where you're invested in their story. They kind of try to do it with Jake a little bit, but he's such a degenerate that you don't really want to be invested in him.
Let's get into our draft. So this week again, with a shout out to JJ Redick, the old man of the three, we're going to do a draft this week. So our draft, in homage to Jake Taylor, is the top MLB wily veteran catchers that were never quite stars, but you'd love to have on your team. So top MLB wily veteran catchers that were never quite stars, but you'd love to have on your team. I'm going to give JR the first pick this week.
I get first pick.
You get first pick, my friend.
All right. So I can do this. So my number one pick, I'm going to go with a guy who's a World Series champion, has had 2 incredible pictures of himself on Sports Illustrated. He played for 8 teams, I believe. I looked him up. He won the 1991 World Series with the Minnesota Twins. His name was Brian Harper.
Yes.
If you remember Brian Harper? This guy was Sports Illustrated twice. He was ran over twice. One, he's doing a headstand. The other time, Lonnie Smith just annihilated him, and he holds onto the ball. Jack Morris trusted this guy enough for 10 innings, and they worked themselves together through a 10-inning Game 7 game. I'm going with Brian Harper as pick 1.
Great pick. That's a great pick.
Thank you.
So I've got the next pick. I'm going to go with this career backup, spent 8 years grinding it out in the minors before finally making his major league debut at the age of 28. He ended up carving out a nice 11-year career in the majors as a backup and was Greg Maddox's personal catcher in Atlanta. He was named ALCS MVP in 1999, where he mashed 2 memorable home runs in the series while hitting .500. And in 2000, he led the NL in blocked pitches thrown by left-handers after the 7th inning in games where his team had the lead.
How do you have that stat? I'm sorry.
Holy cow. That last one I just made up. That last one.
Oh, that's like there's no possible way.
My first pick is Eddie Perez.
Nice pick. Eddie Perez is a good catcher.
Yeah.
All right. So just so the listeners and in this case viewers understand, I'm at a supreme disadvantage compared to MLB.com over here and Stan the Man Musial. I don't know. Sorry, Ozzy we'll go with. Being at they're both baseball nerds. But okay, I'm gonna go with a J, obviously. 225 career hitter, 58 home runs, only 321 RBIs. And I'm picking him strictly because of his self-deprecating humor at how bad of a player he was. And he's one hell of an announcer. I'm going with the legendary Buck Martinez as my number.
Nicely done.
Excellent. And his hair is wicked.
Excellent.
Buck's hair is amazing.
Number 2, because we're snaking back. So number 2, I'm going to go with a guy who's got a 229 career average, hit 106 home runs, 341 ribbies. He's been on SNL. He's been in multiple commercials with Chris Bryant. He was on Dancing with the Stars.
Nice.
He's got an amazing doppelganger who works at Mill Street Brewery.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, he does.
Now the head coach of JR's favorite team, the Chicago Cubbies. And he also has 2 World Series rings before I forget. I'm going with David Ross with my second pick.
Nice picks.
Well done. Well done.
Nice picks.
Well, that kicks it back to me. So I'm going to go with this guy who has played 18 years in the bigs. He led the American and National Leagues 4 times in fielding percentage and twice in percentage of base runners caught stealing. His 12,839 putouts are 3rd most in MLB history among catchers, and he currently manages the Los Angeles Angels, and he's a handsome mother of a gun. I'm talking about Brad Osmus.
Ooh, good pick. Brad Osmus was a good catcher.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Brad Osmus was also manager. Am I got that right? Was he not
Yeah.
the manager?
He's manager of the Angels right now.
All right.
Was
So
he wasn't
He
the
took
Houston
over-
manager,
so-
right?
He was Detroit's manager for a while too.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my next pick, I'm going to go with a guy who I want on my team. Baseball's great. That's fantastic. He's great. He's a catcher. He played for, what do I see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams. That's fantastic. That's great. You played for these teams. You're wonderful, Matt. Matt Trainor's a great catcher. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah.
But why I want Matt Trainor is because he's married to Misty May.
Yes.
So I'm going with Matt Trainor on my team because I want to hook up to the professional women's beach volleyball circuit. Okay?
Yes.
I'm going with Matt Trainor on my team. I want him to bring him out.
That's the best pick yet.
If I'm a $30 million player, I'll pick up the tab.
JR just won the draft.
Just won the draft with that pick.
Not even all of JR's won.
You're on my team. You can be the 5th string catcher. I don't care.
So you're up again, JR.
All right. And my last pick, I'm going to round this one out. And I have to go with this gentleman. He was a former J. He played 9 or 10 years. A handlebar mustache, second to none. I got to go with Big Sal Fasano. That is a backup catcher of backup catchers on your bench.
Nicely
When
done.
you're talking about go catch a pen and you walk out with Sal Fasano, there's some sort of aura. That guy oozes big league backup catcher. Big strong guy. What a handlebar mustache. Sal
Nicely
Fasano.
done. All right. For my last pick, this former 14th overall pick in the 1982 Major League Draft played for 12 seasons, all with the White Sox, from 86 to 97. He never posted a season with a minus defensive WAR rating. He even hit 20 home runs and 400 at-bats in 93, and he led the league in caught stealing percentage in 3 seasons, throwing out over 50% of his runners in each. Never to be confused as a handsome man. I'm talking about Ron Karkovice.
Oh my God. I forgot about him. He looked like his face got bit by mice.
Yeah. He looked like his face got bit by mice.
Oh my God, poor guy.
Incredible.
I mean, oh man, I forgot about Ron Karkovice.
Somebody put his face caught on fire, and somebody put it out with a golf cleat.
I forgot about him. Oh my God, that's amazing.
Wow.
Oh, what can I say?
How the hell do I follow that up? All right.
I don't know.
Jesus. All right, I'm a little torn, fellas, because part of me wants to give the Expos some love, but as JR can attest to, part of me also needs to get in the good graces of our friends at Sam Adams after my terrible review of their beer. So I might have to go with the Sox. I'm gonna lean to do some pandering here and get on the board with some Sam Adams friends here. So I'm going with my last pick. I'm going with Salty, Jared Saltalamacchia. Bounced around quite a bit in the league, including with the Jays, but best known from Red Sox fans for hitting the 6-5 walk-off to win the World Series and drive them in. So in whatever that was, 2013. So I'm going with Salty. Going with Salty. And he had sick flow.
He's a handsome guy too.
Yeah, he did okay.
All right.
And to fit that name on a jersey is second to none.
He was in the trade with the Teixeira trade.
Yeah, and he had a backup. He was the guy coming in after Veritek. Like,
yeah,
that's no easy spot to fill either. So,
absolutely.
He had a lot of pop.
Yep. All right. We'll tell them where to hit us up, Webb.
All right. Thanks again, everybody, for listening and for maybe viewing in this case. Don't forget to give us a follow on Twitter at Big League Flicks and on Instagram at Big League Flicks Pod. And have a great week. And we'll see everybody again. Be safe. Take care of each other. Cheers.
Shout out Norton, Texas. We love you. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, we love you, Norton.
Thank you, Norton. And we're looking for a Texas high school football team to cheer for. So Norton, Texas, let us know. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Big League Flicks, Jordan, Christian, and Jeremy We're talking movies about sports and the glitz and the glamour. Got a cold beer pairing for the leading lady staring. Fun facts and trivia and man rocket comparing. Soundtracks and music, they'll rate all these things. Was it real or did they lose us as the fat lady sings? Talking junk, have a giggle, comedy, drama, romance. Did the film deliver 6 to noon in my pants? With their big bag of tricks, these podcast critics. Jordan, Christian, and Jammer with big league flicks. Jordan, Christian, and Jammer with big league flicks. Jordan, Christian, and Jammer.